Hello, today I will be discussing about the Marxian model. What is the Marxian model? And you should have a proper understanding of the Marxian model. The Marxian model actually there is a there is a there is a doom of capitalism, and on the basis of that there is a rise of socialism. And the doom of capitalism and rise of socialism is the key of the development model of the Karl Marx. Okay, so now the theory of growth propounded by Karl Marx, who predicted the doom of capitalism and the rise of socialism. With the accumulation of capital, the capitalist economy prospers, but for the time being. With the accumulation of capital, that is, by exploiting labor, they are exploiting labor and earn more profit, and investing that profit they earn more capital, and there is a progress in the economy, but it is for the time being as far as the Karl Marx thought is concerned. Capital is a fundamental base of growth in the Marxian theory, and it is accumulated by the entrepreneurs, and surplus value is earned by exploiting laborers. And this surplus value actually is invested and they earn profit. Marx attempts materialistic interpretation of history. You must remember that Marx attempts materialistic interpretation of history, but he does not treat history as a chronological description of wars and kings. He said that all historical events are behind the economic changes. Are behind the economic changes. Okay. So there are on the basis of the Marx, there are five stages. Okay. One is primitive communism, slavery system, feudalism. Feudalism is nothing but the dominant social system. In that system, the labor workers suffer, actually they suffer more. They have to pay tax on the earnings, to the to their landholders, and and actually in the feudalism, workers are exploited in deep. Okay. Now there is capitalism and socialism. There are five stages in the Marxian theory. Okay. Now, some assumptions on the basis of the Marxian model was developed. There are two principal classes in the society. There are two principal classes in the society: bourgeois and proletariat. Okay. Now, wages of workers are determined at their subsistence level. Wages of workers are determined at their subsistence level. Now, look, What is the subsistence level? What is the subsistence level? According to this law, according to this law, that is the classical economist has said, the laborers get only such wages as are just sufficient to meet their basic needs of life. Okay? To meet their basic needs of life, they are paid. Okay? So laborers get only such wages as are just sufficient to meet their basic need. Labor is the principal source of value generation. Labor is the principal source. In the Marxian model, labor is the principal source, the main source of value generation. And there is another concept, that is, another assumption is there, that is, factors of production are owned by the capitalist or entrepreneur. And here the factor of productions are the land, labor, capital, entrepreneurships. There are four factors of production. Capitalists exploit the workers. This is another assumption. It is important and crucial assumptions. Capital is of two types: constant capital and variable capital. Constant capital is the capital such as the machines of the factory, land is the capital. Constant capital, actually the machineries are the constant capital. But the variable capital, such as the, you can say, the that is spent daily, that is spent regularly, that is spent regularly. It is variable capital. So variable capital refers to that capital which changes, which changes its value during the course of production of goods of goods. Okay, it actually changes in the production process. And in another way, we can say that it refers to the labor power or wages paid to the workers. So there are two types of capital. That is, one is constant capital, and another is variable capital. Now, another assumption is labor is homogeneous and perfectly mobile. It is homogeneous. Labor, quality of labor is same, and it's perfectly mobile. Next, it's perfectly mobile. That is, there is a substitution between the labor and capital. There is perfect competition in the economy. As you know in the microeconomics, what is the perfect competition? So there are all those assumptions of perfect competition are maintained in the Marxian model. So there is a perfect competition in economy. National income is distributed in terms of wages and profit. It is an important assumption that national income is distributed in terms of wages and profits. Now, growth of capitalist economy. You have to understand what is the surplus value. It is the crucial and important concept, because on the basis of that, growth happens in the Marxian system of development. The difference between the value generated and wages paid to the labor, value generated by the labor and wages paid to the labor, there is a difference. And that difference is called the surplus value. And this surplus value, if there is more surplus value, it means there is more exploitation, and this surplus value will be reinvested and there is a profit. And in this way, the production process continues. Output increases by reinvesting the surplus value. And this surplus value is the difference between the value generated by the labor and wages paid to the labor by the entrepreneurs. Okay? Increasing national product is the consequence of the process of growth. According to Marx, there are three basic elements of national product. One is constant capital, another is variable capital, and another is surplus value. There are three basic elements of national product. Look at this equation. GNP means the gross national product is the sum of constant capital, variable capital, and surplus value. Marx keeps in mind the subsistence theory of wages and also the iron law of wages. And this law, the subsistence theory, was presented by the classical economists. According to this law, laborers get only such wages as are just sufficient to meet their basic needs of life. Laborers actually get that amount of wages that meets their basic needs of life, not more than that. This subsistence level of wages, the subsistence theory of wages, is important in the Marxian theory. Labor needed to fulfill these needs is what Marx calls necessary labor. This is the necessary labor. What is the necessary labor? Labor needed to fulfill these needs, these basic needs of life. The amount of labor that is needed to fulfill the basic needs of life of a labor is called the necessary labor. So the difference between the value generated by the labor beyond the value generated by the labor and the necessary labor is the surplus value. The value generated by the labor and the necessary labor is called the surplus labor. Okay. Now, there are two ways to increase the surplus value, because surplus value is important in the growth of capitalist economy. So there are two ways. By keeping wages at subsistence level, it is important. Wages should be kept at the subsistence level. It is important to generate surplus value and increasing productivity. By increasing productivity, surplus value can be more. Okay, by increasing productivity. So there are two ways to increase the surplus value. Now, increasing productivity implies technological progress. If there is a tendency of increasing productivity, then you should remember that there is a technological progress, otherwise it is not possible. Marx considered technological progress as capital absorbing and labor saving. Capital absorbing and labor saving. It is the technological progress as far as the thought is concerned. More capital is used and less labor is used. As a result, naturally, there is a technological output. More technology is there. As more technology is there is more unemployment because machines, equipment replace actually replaces the human labor. These technically displaced persons create big reserve army. This is the reserve army. In the Marx thought, this is the reserve army, and in this way, the reserve army is generated. In this way, the reserve army is generated. So technological progress actually create big reserve army. Now, now, as I have mentioned this all, now the rate of surplus value. Here you can find the rate of surplus value. Okay, what is the rate of surplus value? You can find the S prime. You can find the S prime. This S prime is the rate of surplus value. So rate of surplus value is a ratio of surplus value by the variable capital. By the variable capital, it is a ratio of surplus value and variable capital, and multiplied by the 100. So this is the rate of surplus value. The rate of surplus value indicates the degree of exploitation of labor by capitalist. Okay, what is the importance of this? The important the importance of the rate of surplus value is that it indicates the degree of exploitation of labor. Degree of exploitation of labor. As the S increases, S prime, that is the rate of surplus value, will increase. Okay, so as surplus value is more, that is there is more exploitation. So rate of the degree of exploitation can be found by the rate of surplus value. Okay, and here you can find an example through which I can clarify this. Suppose a garment, to make a garment, it requires actually 2 hours, and mm, actually 2 hours, and a labor is paid 50 rupees for 1 hour, and the garment requires 2 hours. So the necessary labor, necessary labor is 2 hours, and the value is 100. And if the labor is engaged for 8 hours, then the 6 hours, 8 hours minus 2 hours, that is the 6 hours, is the surplus value, and this amount is actually enjoyed by the capitalist, and this amount is reinvested in the reinvested in the production process, and growth is there on the basis of that. Okay. Now, this is rate of profit. Now, rate of profit. What is the rate of profit? Rate of profit is indicated by the P prime, and it is a ratio of surplus value and the C plus V, constant capital, variable capital. Okay, rate of profit is less than the is less than rate of profit is less than the rate of surplus value. As you have found that here in the rate of surplus value there is only V. Here is only V, but you can find you can find the in the rate of profit there is C plus V. So rate of profit is always less than the surplus. It is less than the is actually is less than the rate of surplus value. Okay. Now, so this is the constant capital, variable capital, and this is the surplus value. So and multiplying by 100, we get the rate of profit. Rate of profit. Okay, and rate of profit also is based on the surplus value. Is based on the surplus value. And organic now here is another concept, that is the organic composition of capital. Organic composition of capital is more important in the Marxian theory of development. What is the organic composition of capital? Organic composition of capital is the ratio of constant capital and the variable capital. It is the ratio of constant capital and the variable capital. Okay. So there is an inverse relationship between the organic composition of capital and the rate of profit. And the rate of profit, there is an inverse relationship. There is a negative relationship. As there is a there is inverse relation to organic composition of capital, rate of profit. If there is a more rate of profit, then there is a less organic composition of capital. Because if there is more profit, then organic composition will be less. Why? Why this type of situation emerges? Look, when there is more capital, and when there is more capital, then there is less labor. There is less labor. Okay, there is less labor, and on the basis of that, under consumption emerges, and there is more supply of labor, more unemployed persons are there, big reserve army is there, demand is less, supply is huge. So on that basis, there is an inverse relation between the organic composition of capital and the rate of profit. Okay. Now the destruction of capitalism. Marx is of the opinion that seeds of destruction of capitalism are inherent in the very growth of capitalism. In the very growth of capitalism, there is the seeds of destruction of capitalism. And organic composition of capital is a factor of the for the destruction of capitalism. And also there is underconsumption. And underconsumption is also an important factor that is that that is that is that is behind the destruction of the capitalism. Okay, so in this lecture, I try to clarify what is the Marxian theory of development, and and what is the organic composition of capital, what is the rate of profit, what is the mm, what is the surplus value, and 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 how the growth occurs in the Marxian system of development. So I hope you have got the point and enriched your knowledge thereby. Thank you for enjoying this lecture.